Welcome to this explainer made by Forge College. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever opened up a massive smart contract audit and just thought, where do I even start? It is completely overwhelming, right? Well, in our previous lesson, Introduction to Security Audits, we tackled how to read those audits and triage the findings. We grouped vulnerabilities by impact and attacker capability. But today we're getting into the driver's seat. We're going over risk assessment and preparation for vulnerability exploration. We're going to learn how to proactively map out a contract's responsibilities, flag the high-risk zones, and build a rock-solid inspection checklist. And the absolute best part is we're doing the whole shebang before you even look at a single line of code or touch the runtime.
Here is our game plan for today. We'll start with the Vault mental model, move into a 6-step workflow, apply that to inspecting an ERC20 token, and finally, build your blueprint for success.
So let's jump straight into part 1, the Vault mental model, where we look at contracts as protected stores.
I want you to imagine the smart contract is a highly secure bank vault. The assets inside, the tokens or the ether, that's the gold. Now the externally callable functions, those are the doors and the maintenance switches of your vault. Along with the physical assets, this vault is also protecting configurable parameters and critical invariants, like ensuring the total balances always sum up perfectly. Some of these doors have massive, heavy multi-sig access control locks on them, while others are basically left wide open to the public. It's kind of like propping the bank's side door open with a brick.
And this is exactly why we use a blueprint approach. Look, rather than randomly jiggling handles in the dark hoping to find a bug, we're going to methodically map out the structure. Unstructured, random bug hunting just leaves you overwhelmed, right? You end up staring at some complex utility code and totally miss the glaring security hole right next door. But systematic mapping, that means you're prioritizing your time. You're visually mapping the attack surface so you know exactly which doors lead straight to the gold and which ones just lead to the broom closet.
When you start looking at these functions, you want to sort them into 3 specific inspection buckets to easily spot those high-priority doors. First up, we've got asset exits and entrances. These are your transfer, withdrawal, and minting functions, literally prime real estate for reentrancy or authorization bypasses. Second is lock and roll management. These functions change who actually holds the keys, like transferring ownership or granting roles. And third, configurable parameters and timers. Think of these as internal switches that set fee percentages or time thresholds. They alter the behavior of the entire system. And hey, if you spot a function that moves funds and changes the locks, that is a double high-priority door right there.
All right, moving on to part 2, the 6-step workflow. This is how we go from raw code to a clean checklist. By following these exact 6 steps, we can turn an intimidating mountain of code into a super lightweight, repeatable workflow. Step 1, gather your context. Just grab the ABI, the docs, and any proxy info. Step 2, do a quick surface scan to list out your external functions. Step 3, map those responsibilities into the vault buckets we just talked about. Step 4, identify the critical state variables. Step 5, score them for priority based on impact and exposure. And finally, Step 6, create your targeted inspection checklist. Now, the real secret sauce here is that every single step produces a tangible artifact. You're not just thinking about the contract abstractly, you're actively documenting its skeleton. Step 1 gives you an artifact list. Step 2 gives your API list of external functions and events. Step 5 spits out a prioritized, scored list. Having these artifacts is a total game changer because it massively reduces your cognitive load. When you finally sit down to read the actual code, you don't have to hold the entire architecture in your head. You've got your custom cheat sheet right there next to you. So let's see what this looks like in practice. Part 3. Inspecting an ERC20 token, putting the blueprint in action.
During our surface scan, we immediately spot the externally callable functions, our vault doors. Remember, we're not even looking at the underlying logic yet. We're just reading the public API. We see transfer, which is an asset movement door. We spot mint, an asset entrance door. There's grant role, a lock management door. And then we see upgrade 2. Now that is a massive maintenance switch that could literally replace the entire vault with a cardboard box if a bad actor manipulates it.
Next up, we map out the critical state variables. These represent the actual golden locks inside our vault, showing us what invariants absolutely must be protected. State variables like balances and total supply, that's the literal gold. Things like the pause boolean or the roles mapping, those are your internal vault locks. And since this is an upgradable contract, that proxy admin pointer is the master key. If a hacker gets that, they can rewire every single door and switch in the whole system.
When we score these for prioritization, we're looking at axes like impact, exploit complexity, and exposure. And you can see how quickly things shake out on our risk chart. The upgrade to function, massive impact, so it shoots right to a high priority. The mint function? Well, if some low entropy process can grant the minter role, you risk arbitrary inflation, so that's also a high priority. But then look at transfer. Even though it's highly exposed to the public, the impact of a single call is generally much lower compared to a system-wide upgrade, so it sits comfortably at a medium priority.
Which brings us to Part 4, your blueprint for success, the final output.
Your final output is this beautifully lightweight checklist of maybe 3 to 10 highly targeted prompts. This tells you exactly where to strike when you open the code. You're just translating those high-risk scores into questions. Things like, verify only expected roles can call upgrade to, or check that Mint emits events and uses explicit storage comparisons, or are there allowance race conditions in the transfer logic? This checklist is your entry ticket. It tells you exactly where to look first and why those spots matter for the security analysis.
Oh, and one more pro tip. Before you dive into the actual audit, use a clear communication strategy with the maintainers to gather context. Sending a proactive context request based on your initial blueprint shows the maintainers you know exactly what you're doing. Asking upfront about the intended ownership model, or if a multisig is used for admin keys, prevents you from wasting days writing up a massive vulnerability report, only to be told later, actually, that's not a bug, that's controlled by a secure multisig. Trust me, save yourself the headache.
You now have a rock-solid, systematic routine to evaluate risk before you even read a line of code. So look at that blueprint in front of you. With your prioritized blueprint ready, what hidden vulnerabilities will you uncover next? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer made by Forge College. I highly encourage you to visit forge.college to expand your Web3 learning journey. Seriously, pick a small token contract, apply this 6-step workflow, and build your own 10-point checklist. Your vault cracking adventure has just begun. See you next time.